And good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. A big day. Election day. It's just 35 days from now. Tonight is going to be one of the biggest evenings between now and when people cast their ballots, and they're already casting them as we speak with early voting. Now, the first presidential debate, it kicks off 3 hours from now, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be showing it to you live, then analyzing what we heard once it concludes. Chris Wallace from Fox News, he will be moderating. There will be 6 topics, as we understand, and let's bring them up on your screen. Of course, they will include COVID, the economy, the Supreme Court, but something that will be a huge issue, even though it's not on the list, is President Trump's taxes. By now, you probably know about the explosive reporting in the New York Times showing the gruesome details of the president's tax returns over an 18-year period. First, I want to show you some of the highlights, or more so lowlights, depending upon how you view this. Donald Trump, he paid absolutely zero, no federal income tax in 11 of the 18 years. When I say zero, I'm not being cute here, not a single dollar. And in 2016 and 2017, he paid only $750 each year. That's $750, period. Also, his accountants, they used a bunch of accounting tricks and questionable deductions, including reducing his tax bills, so he got a $73 million refund. The IRS, they're investigating that one. Also, within the next 4 years, more than $300 million in loans will come due, and Trump, he's personally on the hook for all of them. He personally guaranteed them. Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, he wrote about Trump's taxes in his new book. And he quotes Trump as saying, "Can you believe how effing stupid the IRS is? Who would give me a refund of $10 effing million? They are so stupid." Now, before I get into more details, I want to read the big takeaway from the Times, and it was phenomenal reporting. The tax returns tell a story fundamentally different from the one that he has sold to the American public. His reports to the IRS portray a businessman who takes in hundreds of millions of dollars a year, yet racks up chronic losses that he aggressively employs to avoid paying taxes. Times also points out how Trump earned more money pretending, that's the key word there, pretending to be a successful businessman than he earned from his actual companies. Report says Trump, he raked in more than $400 million from The Apprentice and the fame that he achieved by becoming a reality TV star. The Times details how he used that money to make investments that lost a ton of money. That includes golf courses like the Doral in Florida, Turnberry in Scotland, and many others. You have the Trump International Hotel in Washington, all of them bleeding red ink. Trump has also leaned on financial disclosure forms that he needs to provide to the American public, saying they tell us more about his finances than the tax returns would. Now, again, like with so many things, it's not true, and I'm going to show you why. An example, his 2018 disclosure form showed that he made more than $430 million, but that's only revenue that came in. His tax return shows he lost $47 million that same year. That means nearly $500 million went out the door in just 12 months. You got to work at that. Also, Trump likes to say he's one of the biggest real estate developers in New York. He's not even close. It's all really a 3-card Monte. He made most of his money simply licensing his name and then trading off the fame from The Apprentice. Remember Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump cologne? Who would get Trump cologne? Trump vodka? Of course you don't remember those. He was even a pitchman hawking laundry detergent at one point. Not exactly what you expect a successful multi-billionaire businessman to be doing. It's because he never was, and he's not. That's not who this man is. You know, in less than 3 hours, we're going to hear competing arguments from 2 men on the same stage about why they should, or probably more likely, why the other guy should not be the next president. Now, if you watch this show with even the faintest bit of regularity over the past 4 years, you no doubt know that regardless of what is asked or answered, Donald Trump long ago disqualified himself as fit for office. The reasons, in my view, ranging from indecency to dishonesty to incompetency, they are legion. His now daily drumbeat of delegitimizing the coming election as he foments racial division, all while COVID rages with worse than disinterest from his Oval Office, has, in my eyes, made him the greatest threat to our national interest and very democracy in modern history. I believe those are the stakes. Yet, with even that as a backdrop, this week, the bombshell report of the Times managed to shock. Sure, I knew his billionaire rap was total BS, that he is a phony hustler and has been for decades, and yes, I knew he was a tax cheat, but I had no idea he was this much of an unmitigated disaster. But this story, it is about so much more than the great reveal that the emperor has no clothes. This is why this story matters so much. Donald Trump is not smart. That's his go-to line when confronted with documents showing his paltry to non-existent tax payments. The truth is, his is the only constants in Trump's adult life that are the unending entrepreneurial failures. That's the one thing when you go back to as a young man to the present day, he always failed with his business ventures. The truth is, the facade the Apprentice perpetrated was that Trump somehow had the Midas touch with business. In fact, it was the exact opposite. Whatever he touched, and I mean whatever he touched, he bankrupted. Now, after Daddy first fronted Donald, and then he simply went belly up, Dad again rode to the rescue and he bailed him out. Again, after those casino fiascos, you may remember. Now, when Dad passed on, Donald again burned through much of his inheritance and he had to find someone else to cover his mounting losses. So that takes us to our second red alert. Who does Donald Trump owe hundreds of millions, if not even $1 billion to? Sure, we know Deutsche Bank inexplicably kept on lending Trump money, and their documented history with some of the globe's underbelly and moneyliners certainly raised more than a few eyebrows. But this goes deeper than just one bank. As we sit here, we don't know who, most likely foreign interests, have our president possibly over a barrel. I'll tell you what we do know. Trump's own former director of national intelligence, former Senator Dan Coats, he thought his boss was compromised by the Russians, and Trump's repeated concessions to strongmen like Putin, Duterte, Erdogan, the Saudis, and others, they're not only clearly not in America's national interests, they beg the question if they've got something on our president. I'll tell you what we do know, and it is bad enough. Trump owes at least $421 million in loans, self-guaranteed and payable in increments starting next year. And I'll tell you this much, he ain't good for it. So the desperation we've seen from him these last few months in particular are the actions of a man seemingly petrified of the exposure about being a private citizen will bring. How about the ongoing civil and criminal investigations? Well, they're waiting for him. They go way beyond tax fraud, by the way. Apparently, they extend to the Trump inauguration, Trump Foundation, Trump Organization, and probably more than we even know. Without a pardon pad, he is in a world of trouble. Ditto for the latest revelation. I believe he is using the White House as a cover to avoid paying his debts. It's a lot harder to call in a note on a sitting president than it is to a disgraced guy lounging in Mar-a-Lago. And this brings me to my final reason as to why this story matters, and it should matter to you. He hustled all of us.
I've rebuilt the military. I spent $1.5 trillion, and we're spending another $738 billion now, but I've spent $1.5 trillion rebuilding our military.
No, you did not. You didn't spend a red nickel. I paid, like probably the rest of my audience did, for our military. Now, I read a stat yesterday, and it stuck with me, and it really galls me. Think about what teachers are going through right now with COVID and everything else. Well, the average school teacher, public school teacher in this country in recent years, paid annually nearly 10 times what Trump paid when he even bothered to pay federal taxes. That same school teacher went into their own pockets on average every year for school supplies for their kids about the same $750 that this false patriot brags about. Now, there is so much more from this offensive write-offs, from his hair to the double-dealing consultant fees for the daughter, but it all comes back to a pattern. Donald Trump believes that the rest of us who fund our government are suckers and losers, just like he feels about those who sacrifice their lives in uniform for this very country. As I often say, we deserve so much better. All right, when we come back, I'm going to bring in Andrew Whitman. We'll discuss what we are looking out for tonight and also any surprises that may be in store for us, in about 2 hours and 50 minutes.